What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's team selection time for Game Week 20. Obviously, Game Week 19 isn't quite finished yet, but there's only one game left. And the deadline, by the time you watch this video, is less than 24 hours away, right? So we've got to talk about it next week. FPL is a bit of a mess right now. My team is in a bit of a weird situation. So there's lots to talk for. I'm going to go through how Game Week 19 is going so far, then look ahead to Game Week 20. So if you do enjoy it, give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here, and let's jump into it. All right, so Game Week 19, we'll go for it either way, whether you watch the deadline stream or not, but a bit of a disaster that turned out to not be quite as much as a disaster as it could have been, but probably will be a disaster from next week onwards, right? So I'm on 49 -4. The hit that I took was Salah to Bowen and King to Ronaldo. So I was umming and ahhing about whether to make that transfer or to use the free hit. So what I decided to do was do the transfer and then decide on the free hit later, because obviously the free hit counts as any moves you want. And then we started getting some team news in. And by the way, I'm not going to keep moaning about this, just like I didn't think we should have got an extra free hit, and I'm not going to keep moaning about that either. I'll just say my piece on it and then move on. But I keep seeing people say, well, that's what you get for trying to get early team news. Well, obviously everyone wants to do that. We do it every week and it's not a problem. Why is it now a bad thing this week? There's other people saying, well, I did my transfers at 125. Why did you wait any longer? As if 125 is the perfect sweet spot, but you shouldn't wait till 126 or 127. It sucks. The website should not have gone down. It wasn't a level playing field this week. It is what it is. We can't do anything about it. So I tried to free hit, and what happened was the website crashed, so it didn't go through. And by the time it was back up, I tried to rebuild it and click submit, but the deadline had passed, so it just went through to the updating screen. The one thing I will say is if that free hit had gone through just before the deadline, I don't know who would have been on my bench. And the thing is, I had playing players like Lamptey and Broya and players like that as well. So they did okay, but I don't know who would have been in the first team. So I might have missed out on some mega hauls. But overall, the free hit team that I tried to submit is about 25 points ahead at least of this team, maybe a little bit more actually. And it also has David De Gea to come as well. So it would have put me up quite a bit more in rank than I am. So it is a little bit annoying, but I'm only on a small red arrow. I've gone from 78k to 79k. And I've still got Ronaldo captain to come. So I could come out of this with a green arrow and my second free hit intact, which I guess wouldn't be a disaster, but the problem is I've sold Salah, so I've got to go into Game Week 20 now without him, and I'm in a bit of a tricky situation. So I'll come on to that in just a second. Just to quickly go through some of the players. Saka, who I would have kept on free hit, 16 points. Absolutely love him. He's now had 6 returns in the last 6. So after all that kind of grief I got for holding on to him, he's actually been brilliant recently. Lacazette, who I was wondering if he was even on the pitch at one point, ended up with a goal and assist, so really happy about that. I would have sold him, but I would have got players like Mahrez, Reguilon, Tierney, Kane and Son. So I would have been up even though I would have sold Lacazette. I think happy that Antonio came on and scored, obviously. A bit annoying that he didn't start, but I'm glad that he's had a bit of a break now and is now going to be available to play for the next week. I think the biggest frustration was probably Reece James and Marcus Alonso, because I watched that Chelsea-Villa game and Villa didn't really create anything of note. No real great chances to score. I discussed this with some people on Twitter. We had a bit of a disagreement, right, where they were saying that Villa did break quite a few times, and they did. They did win the ball back and break quite well, but those breaks never, those counter-attacks, whatever you want to call them, they never resulted in a good shot that ever really troubled Chelsea at all. And ultimately, you need to get into those good positions to score goals. So as good as Villa might have looked, they didn't really ever create anything, and it was just a free cone goal. Reece James, kind of corner of the box, heads it in and loops Mendy. How often is that going to happen? So it was really frustrating to lose the clean sheet like that. Obviously, you lose points for the own goal as well, and James and Alonso ended up coming out with 1 point. If they'd got the clean sheet, if, right, obviously, then it wouldn't have been so bad not free hitting, but that kind of killed it. At that point, the free hit was miles better. So, look, I've got my free hit left. I'm not going to fall too much in rank. I've still got Ronaldo captain to come. It's not been a disaster, but it could have been a lot worse, for sure. Or it could have been a lot better, I'd say. But next week could be a disaster because I now don't own Salah. Let's talk about it. All right, so we'll kick off with the defence and then we'll talk about the whole attack. I'm not going to do midfielders and forwards because I think we need to discuss them all together. So obviously straight away, I do not have a goalkeeper this week. Ramsdale doesn't have a match. Arsenal versus Wolves is off. And I was already benching Lacazette before the game got called off, so that's not too bad. But he is a lot of money, so I kind of need that money to improve the rest of the team. With Ramsdale, it's tricky because ideally I'd like to keep him because Arsenal now have a couple of fixtures to rearrange. Like if we look at the fixtures they've got 3 to rearrange: Chelsea, Wolves and Liverpool. Now, they're not easy games, but if you couple them with an easier game in a different game week, then it's maybe not so bad. And obviously, goalkeepers can get save points, etc. So they can kind of build up big scores, even with difficult fixtures. So ideally, in the ideal situation, ideal world, I don't sell him. I upgrade my second goalkeeper. But as we're going to come on to in a minute, that's a little bit tricky with money. Because even if Foster plays, even if he's back fit and this game goes ahead against West Ham, obviously Watford have missed quite a few games now. There's nothing to say that game will definitely be on. But he probably doesn't even have the goalkeeper spot right now because Bachmann's been playing. So there's no guarantee he even plays. So I don't have a goalkeeper right now. One move that I could make is to downgrade Lacazette and upgrade Foster. So I'd probably go to David De Gea. I've not given this a huge amount of thought. I need to decide today. But probably to David De Gea because obviously Man United have also got 2 fixtures to rearrange and they're good ones as well. And they generally have good fixtures. Whereas Ramsdale is coming into a situation where he's got a blank, Man City, Spurs, then 2 fixtures, then 2 blanks in 3. So he's not ideal. You'd rather have a goalkeeper kind of next to him, and that probably would be David De Gea. Now, I can afford to do that, but obviously I don't want to, as you can see, I don't want to have Lacazette and Saka on the bench. So I'd probably look to maybe downgrade Lacazette to another playing forward. The problem is there's very few forwards who I'd want to get in this week to also play. Like Calvert-Lewin hasn't played for ages. Surely he starts on the bench and comes on for a few minutes and then maybe starts having his minutes increased. Surely they're going to manage him, right? I don't know for sure, but that's what I'm kind of thinking. They're going to manage Calvert-Lewin. Watkins doesn't have a game. Watkins would be perfect, but he doesn't have a game this week. That game's been called off against Leeds. So there's really not too many strikers around that price point. Bamford's injured. Obviously King's got West Ham, so it's not even a great fixture. I've just sold him as well. He would just really come in as bench fodder. So there's not too many players I'd want to kind of downgrade Lacazette to then have to play as well. So Ramsdale's a tricky one for me. I could free hit this week. I've not completely ruled it out because I didn't use it last week. I could use it this week instead. That's not completely ruled out. So Ramsdale's a tricky one. I'll come on to more transfers in a sec. In terms of the rest of the defence, I think Alonso and James are perfectly fine for this week. I've kind of said this for weeks now. Like as soon as that goal went in last night, I saw loads of tweets saying, well, that's it. Chelsea defence has to go now. They've been awful. And look, they haven't got as many points as we wanted, right? When we bought Reece James, he'd come off the back of like 50-odd points in 4 weeks, and he hasn't done as well since. But they were very unlucky to concede against Villa, like I just said. The previous 2 weeks, both of them have got points. Like Alonso's had like 6 and 9. I think Reece James has had like 7 and 6 or something like that. So they've actually done fine the previous 2 game weeks. It's just a freak own goal that stopped it this week. Brighton at home's like a perfect fixture. The only annoying thing is, Kante came back and now he's injured and he's probably going to miss that Brighton game. So we just have to hope that Kovacic comes in and just can help try and control the game. But when Kante went off, it wasn't as good as obviously when he's on. So he's going to be a big miss. But I think the fixture is just good enough to hold them for this week. After this week, we've definitely got to consider getting rid of them. Bad fixtures, blanks coming up. They've probably got to go. Unless we find out they're going to double in game week 22 and then maybe we can keep hold of them. And elsewhere, Cancelo came straight back in. He's definitely staying. And obviously Trent, I'm really worried about that Leicester game without 3 Liverpool players because Leicester were really poor against Man City. They did rest some players, so they'll have some players that will come back in, but they were just not good at all. And to be fair, they nearly came back into it. Man City kind of switched off a little bit, and Leicester came back into it. And Leicester were good in attack, right? Maddison's playing really well at the moment. Iheanacho was good as well. We know how good Iheanacho is. He should get more minutes, right? He needs to be in a team that plays him more often. He is a great striker. But Leicester have just played. They've just been battered, 6-3. They've got to play again in a couple of days' time, whereas Liverpool have had a rest. Bearing in mind their match wasn't called off because of them, it was because of the other team. So they've been able to carry on training, etc. They obviously haven't played a match, but over Christmas you kind of want a break, right? So a fully rested Liverpool team against a Leicester team that just got, beat pretty well by Man City. And it's not like Liverpool are slouches in attack. Obviously, Trent's going to be getting forward as well. That's a really good fixture. So I'm really happy with Trent. Obviously, comes back in. They've now got an extra fixture to rearrange. So I think for this week, the defence looks fine. The defenders anyway. But Ramsdale's a problem and Chelsea need to go soon. So I need to figure out exactly how I'm going to do that. And I think downgrades for James and Alonso to the likes of maybe Diaz, but otherwise kind of Dyer or Dalot, someone like that, or Regulon is probably where I'm looking. Okay, there's some tricky decisions this week. One of them is captaincy, which I'll come on to a second. The problem with my team this week is I actually think it looks quite good, right? If we forget about the Arsenal game for a second, Bowen and Antonio against Watford, good. And again, we have got a quick turnaround. There is probably going to be some rotation. It could be Bowen. I would expect that Antonio will play because he only got 45 minutes in the last game. So I'm hoping he's now back, had a bit of match practice, etc., match fitness, and will play against Watford, as long as the match goes on, of course. I should say, I'm trying to make these videos as useful as possible, even if there's more postponements. If there is more postponements for any of the matches that my players are involved in, it probably will force me to free hit, right? So I'll build a free hit team in just a minute. So Antonio and Bowen should be fine. I think Jota, if he starts, is great for Leicester as well. As I've just said, that Leicester game looks really good. I really wish I had Salah captain. And the fact that Foden played some minutes in the last game makes me think he's probably going to start against Brentford. I'm a little bit worried that he didn't start the Leicester game. He could still be in Pep's bad books. But the fact that he brought him on, I would hope now he'll start against Brentford, because obviously it is a fairly quickish turnaround. And so he could be a captain, but I think the obvious captain for my team is probably Ronaldo. But obviously if he plays a lot of minutes against Newcastle, I don't know if I'd want to captain him necessarily. The problem with Jota and Foden, who are probably the next two best captains, is you're just not quite sure what the minutes are going to be like. For Man City in particular, they could be 3 or 4 up in 60 minutes against Brentford. If Foden's got no returns, or maybe just an assist, he could easily just get brought off, right, and rested for the next game, or however it might work. I do think soon I'm probably going to look to sell Foden. If he's not going to be starting most weeks, which he hasn't recently, then Arsenal away and Chelsea at home next. Probably got there's no matches rearranged. There's no double game week coming up for Man City. Yes, these fixtures are good, but I could always bring him back in. So this might be his last week in my team. Right? Famous last words, because something could happen next week where I've got to make a whole different set of transfers. And the main problem with Saka and Lacazette, right, if I do free hit, is you get them back in next week. And as I said just a minute ago for Ramsdale, getting them back in for Man City at home, Spurs away, and a couple of blanks to come as well is not ideal. So ideally, even if I free hit, I've still got to deal with them next week and transfer them out. That is why I'm considering, if no other matches get postponed, that I just deal with Saka and Lacazette and just don't watch the Liverpool game, because it is going to be hell not having Salah for that game. But I think I've put myself in a position now where I just have to see it through. Obviously, people are going to say to me, I know, well, why did you sell Salah if you want him so much? Well, that's one of the reasons I tried to free hit last week, was to get Salah back this week. But obviously the free hit didn't go through. So I'm now in this position, and I can't really reverse the transfer, which I thought about. I did think about taking Ronaldo out to by Salah, but with the Arsenal game off, I just can't do that. I've got to deal with that. So my transfers will probably be, if I don't free hit, and I will talk about that in a minute, is Saka to Son, because I think Son, no matter what has happened this season, he's continued to tick over. Southampton away, Watford away are good fixtures. Watford away in particular is a fixture I'd probably look to captain Son, because Salah plays Chelsea, and I don't own Salah, right? But even if I did, I'd probably look to captain Son anyway. And then I only have 5.5 million, so I cannot buy Josh King back, which is a little bit frustrating. But I would probably go to Broja, who's been starting the last couple of games. And obviously, I think he scored, didn't he? Yeah, I think he scored. He got an assist against West Ham. And I wouldn't play him this week, but against Newcastle at home, in Game Week 21, bearing in mind there's a few bad fixtures in Game Week 21, like Chelsea play Liverpool, for example, and Arsenal play Man City, where I could just play him against Newcastle at home. He has got some bad fixtures to come, and they've only got one fixture to rearrange, so I don't know exactly where that would go. But Broja is someone I'd think about. The problem is now, right, so if I do that transfer, that's fine, but I've got no keeper. I don't really want to do Foster to Backman. I just don't think it's worth it now. So the other option is to play without a goalkeeper, or to do Ramsdale to David De Gea and take a -8. But I don't know if I want to sell Ramsdale. I'd rather have De Gea and Ramsdale, but there's just no good way to do it. So that is a move that I'm going to consider. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep Ramsdale for now and just have Son and Broja in. But I've got to keep an eye on price changes because Son already went up last night, which is what's put me in such a position now where if there's any more price rises or changes for those players, I'm not going to be able to get David De Gea in. And that really does put me in a tricky situation. I could not get Broja and get a non-playing forward instead. But I just don't think I want that. Not with all the postponements that are going on. I kind of want someone on the bench that I can play. And that Newcastle at home game could be good. So something I might consider doing is making the transfers tonight, which I really don't want to do. I think it would be a bit of a crazy thing to do. And if things go really bad, I'll just free hit instead and just cancel all the transfers. That's probably where I'm falling right now. I think I have to go without Salah. I just think I've got to see it through now. The free hit didn't go through. It is what it is. I kind of already knew, obviously, by doing Bowen and Ronaldo in anyway, that I wouldn't have Salah if I didn't free hit. So I guess I'm not in any worse of a situation than I already thought of. But I don't think there's really any... I'm looking at my transfer plan. I don't think there's any other move that I could make. To be honest, unless someone sees something that I'm missing, I think that has to be the move. But otherwise, it looks pretty good. I think the team, I'm fairly confident. I just need Salah not to score a hat-trick, and that could easily happen against Leicester. So right now, that's the team. Foden's my captain. I'll see what happens. I'll see how I feel with Jota and Ronaldo, or even Antonio or Bowen. I could captain any of them. I could even captain Son when he comes as well. I think my attack is that good, apart from Salah. So yeah, Lacazette to Broja, Saka to Son, and maybe Ramsdale to De Gea. They are the moves, unless I free hit. So let's build a free hit team. Okay, so because my current plan is not to free hit, I've not given this a massive amount of thought, but I will put together my team before the deadline, just in case I want to use it. I might just do it a couple of minutes earlier this week. But one of the reasons I don't really want to free hit is because I feel like I would just keep most of my current team. And I think I'd only be free hitting to not have the Arsenal players and to get Salah back. And the fact that longer term Saka and Lacazette should probably be sold anyway essentially means I'd be free hitting just to get Salah back. And I just don't think it's worth it. So for example, right, this is my team with all the players removed. On a free hit, right, if you're looking at the fixtures, Spurs, okay, I don't have any Spurs players, but I could get Son for a transfer. I've already got 2 West Ham. I've already got 2 Liverpool. I just don't have Salah. Chelsea versus Brighton, I think I wouldn't necessarily go for any attackers, although Lukaku did look good against Villa when he came on. But I've already got double defence, and that's a pretty good fixture. I've already got 2 Man City players as well. Calvert-Lewin, I'm not even sure if he's going to start. And I've already got Ronaldo as well. Right, so Salah really is the big thing. Like, if I was free hitting, I think Foden starts, I think, so I keep him. Bowen's got Watford, I'd keep him. Antonio's got Watford, I'd keep him. I would have Cancelo, I would definitely have Trent. Jota, maybe. If I got any kind of info that Jota wasn't starting, then yeah, okay, I'd free hit him out. But otherwise, he probably plays as well. And then without trying to be too different, I mean, I would get Salah back, obviously. And then I would want Son as well. So obviously this gets tricky now if I want Ronaldo. That's the big decision. Do I also go for Ronaldo? But I think James and Alonso are fine. I'd probably go for David De Gea against Burnley, who I could also bring in on a transfer, right? But for now, let's just roll with this. We'll just put in a non-playing goalkeeper for now. We'll put in Gunnarsson. He's the cheapest one. And I've only got 13.5 million for these other spots, so I can't even really afford this. So this would be 4-5-1. So I would just put kind of I guess dead spots in here. Hang on, let's just put a couple of players in, Dobbin and Sims, and we'll just put in Dalot as a playing. Where is he? Where's Dalot? 4.5, a playing defender, right? So potentially a free hit team like this, right? Which I think looks pretty good. Obviously, the bench is lacking, so I might change some things around. But it'll be 4-5-1 with my exact defence. I'd be bringing Salah back for this midfield. Bearing in mind, I could have these 4, Son, Jota, Foden, and Bowen anyway. So essentially, I'd be free hitting to avoid taking a hit, to keep my Arsenal players for game week 21 who I don't want, and to swap Ronaldo to Salah. Now, don't get me wrong, Salah could get such a big score that it's worth doing, but I think most people would agree. I just roll with my team, take the hits, right? Again, it's another postponement. It sucks, but we got to deal with it, and just hold the free hit a bit longer. I just don't really see, apart from maybe going for Crystal Palace players against Norwich, I don't really see other fixtures where I would add enough players to warrant using the free hit. Like that's the team versus this team, right? If you imagine that Saka is Son and Broja's on the bench, so if you imagine that team, Saka is Son, versus this team, like this is not enough difference. So I've got the free hit as a backup if one of the other fixtures gets called off. Obviously, if Man City gets called off, then I swap Cancelo and Foden out. Maybe I put Reguilon in instead of Cancelo. Let's just do that a second. I mean, not that this match is going to be called off, but I'm just giving you an example, right? Thinking on the fly. So we put Reguilon in, we got 1.2 million spent. So maybe Foden gets upgraded to someone else for 9 million. I don't know. Maybe Sancho for Man United, depending on how many minutes he gets. Maybe a second Man City midfielder. But who's going to start? Gundogan? Is Grealish going to start? Well, in fact, I wouldn't even go Man City, would I? Because I'm saying that their match has been called off. So there's not really too many other options to go for. So I think the free hit just has to not happen unless other games get called off. If it's just the Arsenal game, and obviously Villa leads, but I've got no players from that, I just think it's Salah versus Ronaldo. That's it, right? That's it. So I don't think I'd do it. I mean, it is going to cost me a big hit not to use the free hit, but I think it sets my team up. I think having Son and Broja and maybe De Gea instead of Ramsdale probably sets my team up better for the long run. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think below. So there we go. That is team selection. If you enjoyed that, please do give it a like and hit that subscribe button if you are new around here. I will try and get another video out tonight. I don't know which one it'll be. Maybe some kind of hybrid transfer tips game week preview. It might just be a bit of a Q&A, like an interactive Q&A where I'm using the FPL site a bit as well. Because obviously the deadline's tomorrow. Well, it's not tomorrow morning anymore. It's tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 because obviously the Arsenal game was the early kickoff. But there's only really today to get out any pre-recorded videos. So I will hopefully have one tonight. I'm just not quite sure exactly what one it will be. So thank you very much for watching. If you think I've missed something massive with my team, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, give it a like, hit subscribe. Good luck with Game Week 20. I'll have deadline stream tomorrow, and I'll hopefully have another video later. I will catch you soon.